Warmest greetings to all my incredible subscribers and new viewers alike. It's a pleasure to have you join us as we uncover the secrets of James Wilson Morrice. James Wilson Morrice, August 10, 1865, January 23, 1924, was one of the first Canadian landscape painters to be known internationally. In 1891, he moved to Paris, France, where he lived for most of his career. Somerset Maugham knew him and had one of his characters say, "When you've seen his sketches you can never see Paris in the same way again." In Canada, James Morrice Street in New Bordeaux, Ahuntsic-Cartierville, Montreal is named in his memory. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore biography from a different angle. Morrice was born in Montreal, Canada East, the son of a merchant, and studied law in Toronto from 1882 to 1889. In 1890 he left to study painting in England. The next year he arrived in Paris, where he studied at the Académie Julian from 1892 to 1897. At the Académie Julian, he befriended Charles Condé and Maurice Prendergast, and also met Robert Henry. Also in 1896, he began to paint his small sketches on wooden panels, called pochades. He then took lessons at the atelier of Henry Harpignies, who encouraged his students to paint en plein air. Morrice continued to live in Paris until the First World War, although he spent most of his winters in Canada and travelled widely abroad. He was influenced by the artwork he saw in Paris, such as the Forbes at the 1905 Salon d'Automne, which he participated in while also remaining in touch with the Canadian art world. He joined the Canadian Art Club in Toronto 1907. During this period he was also in contact with the literary milieu, with English expatriate intellectuals living in Paris, such as Somerset Maugham, Arnold Bennett, and Clive Bell. In 1911, he wrote Edmund Morris that there was excitement in London over the post-impressionism exhibition. As he wrote, "Everybody laughed and jeered, but with a few exceptions it consisted of good things, art that will last." In the winters of 1912 and 1912-1913, he stayed in Tangiers. His second trip coincided with a trip by Matisse, whom he met and with whom he exchanged ideas about art. He was elected an honorary non-resident member of the Royal Canadian Academy in 1913. With the advent of World War I, Morrice went to Montreal, and then to Cuba. There he began to succumb to alcoholism. The output of his last period is uneven and infrequent. In the summer of 1922 he travelled to Algiers, where he painted with Albert Marquette. This would be the last time that he painted, as his health began to rapidly deteriorate. He died, aged 58, in Tunis. In this segment, we'll be unraveling the complexities of gallery and exploring its multifaceted nature. Morrice paintings before the turn of the century are thinly painted and inspired by Whistler, both in sentiment and in treatment of colour. Just prior to World War I he began to paint, in a thicker style, winter Canadian scenes influenced by the Impressionists and particularly by Maurice Cullen, whom he met in 1897. In 1905, he would have seen Fauvist paintings in the Salon d'Automne and been influenced by their pure, bright hues. Some of his works during his Caribbean period are considered his best and are painted in a loose style influenced by post-impressionism and suggest artists such as Matisse. He is noted for his sense of observation and ability to distill the essence of what he saw in his work, often in pochades, little sketches. Morrice images of culture or other public gatherings, including seasonal fêtes, regatta or circus scenes, remain unique in Canadian art, as one curator writes. The artist with the delicate eye, Matisse called him in it prow of a gondola, Venice, 1897 National Gallery of Canada Return from School, 1901 Quai de Grands Augustins, 1903. The National Gallery of Canada The Ferry, Quebec, 1906. NGC Blanche Baum, 1912. NGC House in Santiago, 1915 Tate Gallery Village Street, West Indies, 1919. Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. James Wilson Morrice Paris Canal Verse op Paris Canal 1900 Must Art Contemporain de Montreal James Wilsonmorrice op Venice c 1900 James Wilson Morrice Dieppe op Dieppe 1906 File Morrice Street Scene Pink Sky Paris op Street Scene Pink Sky Paris c 1908 Art Gallery of Ontario File Morrice La Ville Maison Holton a Montreal Gold Holton House Montreal 1908-9 Musty Beau Arts de Montreal File Morrice op Venice c 1910 James Wilson Morrice op Ferry Quebec c 1910 Image Blanche bound by James Wilson Morrice Blanche bound Oil on Canvas National Gallery of Canada. With that being said, let's now move on to recognition and legacy. In 1958, works by Morrice along with those of Jacques de Tomanka, Anne Cahonnet and Jack Nichols represented Canada at the Venice Biennale. The Montreal Museum of Fine Arts is one of the two main repositories of his work along with the National Gallery of Canada. Montreal as David Rousseau Morrice 1903-1978 and Fahrenheit. Eleanor Morrice 1901-1981 will to the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts many works of art they had collected during their lives, published as a Montreal collection, gift from Eleanor and David Morrice and exhibited at the museum in 1983. Several significant gifts have enhanced the National Gallery's collection, enhanced by major publications such as Charles Celsius. Hills Morrice a gift to the nation the G. Blair Line Collection 1992. In 2016, Ash Kelvin. Prokosch gave the National Gallery a major collection of Morrice, which the National Gallery exhibited as James Wilson Morrice. The A.K. Prokosch collection in Trust to the Nation 2017 and traveled nationally 2018-2019. In 2023, the major book James Wilson Morrice, Paintings and Drawings of Venice by Sandra Peikowski was published. Remember to follow me on social media for behind-the-scenes content and updates.